can just open up for questions.
Senator Cruz, how will you vote on Syria when it comes to Congress, as the President said it would?
Well, it depends what case President Obama makes. I am very glad that President Obama has listened to the bipartisan calls for him to go to Congress and seek congressional authorization before any possible use of force in Syria. That was the right thing to do. And in making that decision, it seems he agrees that there is no imminent threat requiring action before Congress can consider the issues and make the decision. The Constitution gives Congress the authority to declare war.
But
so that was the right decision.
Okay. Haven't you spoken about we can't be the world's policeman, and so that would suggest that you would be against action?
It is incumbent on the President to make the case that military action is in furtherance of the vital national security interest of the United States. I am troubled by the justifications the Obama administration has put forth so far. Much of their discussion has concerned what they describe as international norms, and they have suggested that the U.S. military should be employed to vindicate so-called international norms. In my view, U.S. military force is justified only to protect the vital national security interest of the United States. And to date, the administration has not focused on those interests, at least in its public effort to make the case. And so I welcome this debate in Congress. And I think it is critical for the nation that we have a debate that fairly addresses the issue and focuses on what action is the President proposing, what is the objective of that action. If the objective is simply to express disapproval, then I think that objective is ill-served. We are not the world's policemen. If the objective is to protect U.S. national security, and in particular, the one national security interest that is implicated here that sadly the President and the administration have not focused on, is preventing the chemical weapons in Syria from falling into the hands of al-Qaeda and terrorists who might use them against Americans or our allies. The approach of this administration, rather than targeting the chemical weapons, has been proposing arming the rebels. I think arming the rebels makes no sense whatsoever. Of the 9 major rebel groups, 7 of them may have some significant connection to al-Qaeda. And the idea that we would go in and potentially arm al-Qaeda, arm terrorists with weapons that could turn around and be used against us is not only not in furtherance of U.S. national security interests, it seems to me directly contrary to them. So I look forward to this debate, to the President making the case about how best to protect our national security.
So just to be very, very clear, you don't have, at this point, you don't have a position, yes or no. You'll wait to see what argument is laid out.
The purpose of Congress hearing these debates is to weigh the evidence and to weigh the arguments. And I intend to approach them with an open mind, as I think most Americans will. But that being said, the threshold for military involvement is and should be a high threshold. It should not simply be done to express disapproval. Military action is not issuing a press release. It is protecting the lives and national security of Americans, and that is what I think should be the only touchdown.
Senator, just to be clear, are you not convinced yet that the Syrian regime was responsible for these weapons?
At this point, I have not been in Washington for a secure briefing. So at this point, I've received only unclassified, unsecure briefings. The administration has publicly stated they have a level of confidence that the Assad regime employed chemical weapons. There have been questions raised by others as to whether that is the case. I have not yet been given the opportunity to review the evidence and make that assessment. But even if it is the case that the Assad regime used chemical weapons, that is deplorable. That should be deplored. It should be condemned. But condemning it is a very different thing from using the U.S. military to engage in a strike, particularly a strike that is not directed at preventing those chemical weapons from falling in the hands of terrorists, but instead is directed at expressing disapproval. Earlier this week, the Los Angeles Times quoted an anonymous administration official who said that the purpose of any strike was to have a strike serious enough that it would not be mockable. And that was the word this anonymous administration official used. But yet not so serious that it might prompt retaliation. Now, it strikes me the purpose of military force should not be to prevent ridicule. I mean that this is being viewed through the lens of the PR battle seems to me sorely misguided. And I hope and believe that congressional debate will focus the issue where it should be. What is in the interest of U.S. national security interest? I will say this, getting us involved in a sectarian civil war in the Middle East is a road fraught with peril. And we have seen nothing from the administration that suggests they have thought through those perils, that they have an objective in mind that actually makes sense, that furthers U.S. national security, and that they have any sort of exit plan. And without a reasonable, rational plan focused on U.S. national security interests that is compelling, I don't think we should be playing the role of the world's policeman or enforcing international norms. We should be defending instead the United States of America.
One question on Obamacare.